are some lies in our science books. Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like the study. It's so many neat things to learn. We're going to cover some of that tonight.
Perception is being managed. We are being steered and guided by a hidden hand.
The whole world has been duped by the media that is not real.
Smart thinking, possible time traveler, smart thinking.
That night, boom, contact memory.
And then, Alex, if you don't agree, you'll be sent to a re-education camp.
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I've lost my touch with the ladies.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why?
Now, experts are suggesting that we're in a golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Now, why is that?
I was, and still am, a huge conspiracy guy. I literally ran out of new tin hat topics to research.
It was most definitely not capable of melting steel.
Then I would be a crackpot if I thought that was the case.
Welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name is Luke.
I'm Salty.
I'm Cam. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good.
Peachy Keen, Jellybean.
Oh,
good, I love
Jesus.
it. I love that energy.
Yeah, I'm bringing it, baby.
You don't love that energy, Salty?
Oh, no, it's fine. I wasn't expecting it after the little dark preamble we had prior to...
Immediately prior to starting recording, you were both saying, I'm feeling a lot of existential dread.
I think there was like a Tropfest short film that won that was like FM radio DJs going through like existential dread in the morning, and you don't know that they're radio DJs, and then they switch on to being like,
"Oh yeah, hey, I saw that." Yeah,
that's us. We're in full lockdown, not going out after 8 o'clock anymore.
No.
So yeah, that's put a real dampener on my social life. I was doing that a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
for me, it was just like going out just before 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Yep.
All those 4 a.m. runs I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a big change for all of us, I think. What are we talking about today, boys?
Black holes.
Black holes. This was a Robbo idea. Just going to highlight that. We're going to be talking about black holes and black hole conspiracies. Black holes are complicated.
Yeah, they are complicated. Yeah. Did anyone actually look up does anyone attempt to explain, I guess, what a black hole is?
I think I can.
All right, let's do it.
I think a black hole is when a star of a sufficiently large size reaches the end of its life and collapses in on itself and then becomes a black hole and starts sucking in all light and matter that comes into its orbit. And but then it gets complicated because it's like time slows down as you go towards the black hole. And so then you get the event horizon, which is around the black hole, which is where time is basically stopped. And so they think that perhaps information can't be destroyed by a black hole and is trapped in this 2D sphere around the event horizon. And it's like, then the scientists are like, what if the whole universe is just one of these crazy event horizons, man? And so much of this black hole stuff just sounds like Einstein was smashing a massive monster gravity bong. Someone's busted in on him. They're like, what are you doing in here, Einstein? He's like, just working on some science. And they're like, what are you working on? He's like, what if the whole universe was a magic eye? It's like, that's a bad German accent. Einstein, what's really going on? There was a lot of that going on for me where it's like, you guys are just making this up. The whole universe isn't a hologram on a black hole. Give me a break.
So the idea is that at the middle of the black hole is a singularity, right? Which is a point in space where mass becomes infinite.
Yeah, and nothing can escape it.
Yeah. So, because did Einstein theorize black holes?
No, he wasn't the first.
Right.
I'm sure there are people that know a lot more about this that are just tearing their hair out right now. Apologies to those people.
No, I'm loving that people are going to be really frustrated at our really bad attempt at science. So, because Einstein's theory of relativity, right, said that the closer something gets to light speed, its mass increases exponentially, right? Which is why Einstein's like, we can't travel faster than the speed of light because our mass would become infinite.
Yeah, it would be too heavy.
Right. So if that can't happen, if our mass can't become infinite, how can there be infinite mass in a black hole? Is he not contradicting himself?
Yeah, you're going to have to take that up with him, I think.
Yeah, I'll get him on the buzzer, on the bell.
Imagine how annoyed he's going to be.
The Alexander Graham bell.
When he hears from you.
So, I guess for years, they were defined by we couldn't really observe them.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there. It's a black hole.
Yeah, not even light can get away from it.
But in 2016, the first one was kind of, I don't think it was photographed as such. It's
yeah, there's images of it. They got a proper image of what it looks like.
Yeah, I think, but it's like based on radio waves.
Yeah, it's through a radio telescope.
Yeah,
a series of them.
So that was released in 2019. That image, it's kind of cool. It's looks like an album cover of a 90s, rock album.
Yeah,
it is kind of cool. But when you search for black hole conspiracies, this is one of the first things that comes up because I don't know, it was a whole bunch of people that did it, and one of them was a woman.
Yeah.
I think a number of them were women, but there was like one woman who had tweeted it, and her tweet went viral. And because it was this woman who worked on it whose tweet went viral, all of these like MRAs were like, nah, it's photoshopped. Women can't do that. They should be in the kitchen.
Yeah. In fact, she only wrote 30% of the code involved in the thing. Did you see stuff about that?
Yeah. That's quite a bit of code.
Yeah. Because I think some of the articles I was talking about was like, YouTube getting in trouble for pushing like these anti-woman conspiracy theories because that whole thing blew up that like this woman had tweeted it and then just got massively attacked because how could a woman possibly have done that? And that become like that become what you found most on YouTube when you tried to look up this thing was just all this stuff about that it was actually a man. Let's be real.
So the guy that I guess was most prominent pushing this was Roosh V, the men's rights activist, the awful human being known as Roosh V,
who literally lives in his mum's basement as well. It's like he lives the cliche.
He has since kind of renounced a lot of his ways because he was all about like picking up women and just really like sleazy stuff, really awful shit. You can look it up. I don't want to repeat it, but he's gone like religious now, full on celibate, denounced all his past ways, but he's still cooked. But he has said that I'm not good at Photoshop, but can create a more believable black hole photo. This only went viral because the news is desperate to pat a woman on the head for doing anything but make a baby. Which is crazy because there are so many scientists and women that have done amazing things over the years that get no credit at all. It's, the media has plenty of stuff to pull out. In the past, he's also, he took up baking. This is the kind of guy he is. He took up baking and he said it was manly and not womanly because it's science. I'm not a woman. I am ultra masculine, as you can see, but baking and cooking in general is a scientific thing, and men like scientific things. So stay out of the kitchen, woman, I guess.
Yeah.
He also, has converted to Christianity. He made that decision after smashing some mushies.
Yeah.
Right.
God told him, get on board, take the God pill. What a cooker.
Yeah.
I doubt those were government mushies.
Get those government mushies and find religion.
Yeah, I think he still seems like he's a bad dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of that took up a lot of the black hole conspiracy oxygen, didn't it?
Yeah.
In the research.
There was also, when you look at black hole conspiracy, there was someone talking about like the conspiracy between, there was like a scientific paper about the conspiracy between the event horizon and whatever else. It's like, no, leave conspiracies out of this. You've got another science word for this. You don't need to confuse me.
How this came about, or why I wanted to talk about it, because there's a guy called Joe Davis. Did you guys look up much about this Joe Davis fella?
No, what have you got?
Oh, he rules. He's this, I'd describe him as a crazy old hippie that has no science qualifications at all, that has a fellowship with MIT, and he just loves doing wacky science experiments that are kind of half art. So he has created biomineralized silk, which I think, I don't know the process, and you can actually do workshops how to create it, but I think it's going to help nuclear waste sites and clean up all that by creating new properties on silk and making silk a lot stronger and then using that to clean things up somehow.
Right.
But he's also been working on encoding the oldest apple species, which I think is 4,000 years old, with Wikipedia injected into its DNA. So when it grows, you could actually, from the apples from this tree, you can pull out the DNA and it's got Wikipedia articles
Right.
in there. So he's just this kind of crazy. Oh, and after Hurricane Katrina, he wanted to get revenge on the sky, so built a thing. And I couldn't see. I don't know if he ever actually finished it, but he was going to build a thing that caught lightning and attracted lightning and then bounced it back up into the sky. He was also in the 1980s.
Just get one of those orgone blasters and just keep blasting the sky with orgones.
He should have. I feel like he's past orgones. He's well past that. In the 1980s, he also became the first man to transmit the sound of a contracting vagina into space. This was a protest, and this has come up a couple of times recently for some reason. But so when how they launched that gold record into space, the Pioneer and Voyager plaques.
Yeah.
It had pictures of nude men and nude ladies. But all the females didn't have their genitals. It was just kind of like a smooth bump.
Oh, yeah. Barbie style.
Yeah, and that's kind of controversial. And so he did this as a protest to highlight that they didn't actually put a vagina into space.
Right.
So anyway, what he's up to with black holes at the moment is he's trying to send information into the black holes, I think via Morse code. And for some reason he thinks it's going to appear in 1935.
Right.
So he's got this theory, and he's thinking on a level that I'm certainly not at. So I don't really understand it. But he's sent 2 signals into the void. He hopes it'll reach Earth, ideally around 1935. This is an article from MIC.com. The dispatch, which Davis calls Swan Song, is a 1-hour Morse code transmission listing numerous pandemics, natural disasters, genocides, and other tragedies that humans failed to mitigate between 1935 and 2011. Buddy, maybe you want to catch up on this current pandemic?
Yeah. Hey, buddy, maybe you want to watch Back to the Future and see what you're going to fuck up by trying to do this.
The idea is to send it towards Cygnus X1, a black hole over 6,000 light years from Earth, in order to slingshot the signal off its time-distorting edge into the past and back towards us. If it works, it could, as he notes, be used to break the wheel of time.
That makes sense. Now, he's just sending that now, right?
I think so. I think maybe he started in 20... He's already sent 2 out.
Right.
So it won't have reached there yet.
I guess not, no.
So, but should we already know that it's worked? Or has it already worked? Because did he send out about much worse pandemics than we've had? It's like we completely avoided the Albanian flu of 1967. And that's thanks to the Morse code.
Yeah.
Like it's already we're already feeling the effects.
Oh, okay. So you're saying we've forgotten that pandemic that you just made up?
Yeah, because he stopped
or didn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's stopped like 8/12. He's stopped all of them.
Yeah. We would never know.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty cool.
But or is it not going to have taken effect yet because the stuff hasn't actually reached there yet? Or
yeah, it also lists some things in this article that we know.
And if we are going by Back to the Future rules, that's why we ended up with Trump as president.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he skewed the timeline off into this weird fucking Biff universe.
Yeah, he just put us literally into Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
Minus the hoverboards.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Who's he expecting to be receiving this Morse code transmission in 1935? Like, who's waiting? Like, doesn't Morse code have to be transmitted into something?
Well, I'm guessing, I don't know, what are the radio telescopes like? And, now, like these days, if a message comes from space in Morse code, we're going to pick it up and be like, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Did anyone do this? Is that microwave going off again or what? But, yeah, in 1935, was anyone doing it?
Yeah. Or is it just going to be some random Morse code operator who's going to pick it up and be like, these bloody kids again. And this is a complicated message. No one's got time to transcribe this.
And no one's going to believe them as well. Hey, everyone.
Yeah.
I've seen the future via Morse code. Oh, God.
Yeah, I just got a message about all of this stuff. It's like, yeah, it's the bloody Nazis fucking with you.
Yeah.
You'd have to put some little wins in there. On this day in 1936, these are, this horse has got to win the Grand National or whatever. Get those little ones in there so the person, he or she, can prove themselves. Hey, you've believed me on this Grand National winner.
But that's putting us even more deeper into the Back to the Future's timeline. Because Biff goes back and gives his younger self the almanac with all the sporting results.
I mean, it doesn't have to be sports.
But
sports is the easy one.
Any of these wins, especially if some bloody Nazi gets a hold of it, if some Nazi's winning all the horse races, then the Germans win the war with their extra money, their extra horse racing money.
Yeah, so that's what this guy's up to anyway.
Oh, well, good on him.
So where do we think the theory of black holes aren't actually... I mean, I started reading some stuff that got really scientific and it hurt my brain, so I kind of breezed through some of it. But it was talking about theories of, if you look at black holes in terms of time and space being what we think it is, it's like a singularity where nothing escapes, and it's like just these doom portals in space. But there's like a theory of looking at space and time as granular, made up of tiny, tiny particles rather than whatever fucking scientists think it is. And that changes the theory of black holes to a point in space where things get squeezed, but then actually come out on the other side somewhere else. Black holes as portals to other universes, other dimensions.
Is that how it works on Star Trek?
Well, you have wormholes, which are like tears in fabric and this fabric of space and time.
Okay, a wormhole is different to a black hole.
Well, are they? That's the question. Like, did Einstein also talk about wormholes? Or am I thinking of Stephen Hawking?
I think he might have. Isn't there the Einstein-Rosen bridge?
Don't know.
It was like a bridge that he built with Rosen.
Was that where they talk about bending, like bringing 2 points in space together?
A wormhole or an Einstein-Rosen bridge is a speculative structure linking disparate points in space-time.
Right.
And based on a special solution of the Einstein field equations.
My brain hurts already.
Yeah. I don't think he came up with it, but it's like based on some of his stuff.
Right. So yeah, there's theories that black holes are portals to other dimensions or alternate universes. Obviously, we can't just travel to one and check it out.
So this alternate universe is going to be getting blasted with Morse code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, 1935 alternate universe, watch out for the pandemic.
And they're like, what pandemic? Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And like maybe...
How annoyed will they be?
Maybe 1935 universe is like already, they're already equipped to get these signals and verify them as coming from space.
Yeah.
So it's just going to blow their mind. Just me, what the hell? Why is this information coming from space all of a sudden?
Or they're significantly advanced and they're like, haha, look, it's that dumb universe sending us those fucking beep, 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 beep messages again.
Yeah.
Why don't they just say it?
Or they'll get the message and they're like, 9/11, well, you know, we haven't been fucking around in the Middle East for the past 30 years, so we don't have any of those problems.
Why would Osama bin Laden, famously nice guy...
Philanthropist.
Yeah,
humanitarian leader.
Never trained by the CIA.
If anything, it would be that awful Nelson Mandela that we killed off in the 80s.
There's an old episode of Transformers, like Generation 1 Transformers, where I think the Autobots are chasing the Decepticons and they get sucked into a black hole. And when they end up coming out of the white hole on the other side. But I think white holes are a different phenomena, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Transformers go in to this black hole and come out the other side, and it's like all the colours are inverted.
Right.
On the other side. So everything's like the opposite. And then Megatron and Optimus realise they have to work together to get back to the normal universe.
Would they just like get there and then be like, oh man, it's going to be so much work to get back to the normal universe. Let's just live with slightly different colours. Let's just be okay with it. You know, in the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror when he just decides to live with the lizard tongue.
It's like, yeah, I liked being a red truck, but I guess I'm okay being like a green truck.
If I need to break the theory of relativity, I don't want to. This is way too much work.
A white hole in general relativity is a hypothetical region, so perfect for this podcast, of space-time and singularity, which can't be entered from the outside.
Right.
Energy, matter, and light can only escape from it. It's the opposite of a black hole, that where nothing can escape, stuff can only escape from it, which seems like, you know, fuck off. That's what I say to that. That's not how anything works. But maybe that's how the other end of a black hole works.
Yeah, it's the white end.
Nothing can get back in. Oh, and also there's supposed to be black holes at the center of every, like, galaxy.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah, they think that they're lurking somewhere in every galaxy.
I was like,
what do you mean? So, like, that is true, or that's just a theory?
I think that's a widely accepted theory, or, like, it's widely considered to be very plausible by the scientists. Supermassive black holes,
right? Which
is like the one that they took the photo of,
right? Also, that's also a Muse album, right?
Yeah. It's like, I don't like that.
Actually, Cam, that'd be a good thing for your bloody radio show. Songs about black holes.
Yeah. Well, there's Black Hole Sun. There's this Muse one.
Yeah, there's Cygnus X1 by Rush.
There you go.
Is
that long?
Probably.
That's good. No,
Eye
that's
of
good.
the Universe by Arion.
All right. We'll talk later. Can you get Mike to record a Toehider Black Hole song?
Probably. I'm just trying to think if there is one. No, there's not.
Does he still listen to the podcast?
I'm not sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to say if he does, we should cut this and then subtly inject the idea into his head, being like, wow, I reckon a Black Hole song would really appeal to the Toehider audience.
We could just start talking about all the amazing riffs we could imagine a black hole to inspire if someone was so inclined.
Like,
yeah, and then maybe that us talking about that will go out into space, go through a black hole, and enter the other universe like 10 months ago. And suddenly there is a Toehider song about black holes.
Perfect.
Oh.
Is there? Nah, didn't work. Sorry, 1935 hippie guy.
No, this guy's current. He's sending it back to 1935.
Oh, right.
That's probably all I've actually really got on black holes. I wanted more alien stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Is it me, or is it just getting harder to find cook stuff because of all these clampdowns on fake news and information?
Yeah, I definitely found, like, when I searched for all of the normal things on YouTube, it was like black hole conspiracy, black hole Pleiadians, black hole whatever, and it was all just like, oh, so you want to watch normal science videos? It's like, no, I want to become a Nazi from watching one science video. Like, I am saying it is good for everyone else that you can't go on and watch one video and get turned into a terrorist in like the space of an afternoon, but for my purposes it's not working.
So there was an article about how they think basically, so the rings around the black hole, like the event horizon, which is like the glowy ring that you see around it, which is, the point where the point of no return, basically. That's where, if you reach the event horizon of the black hole, you fucked. That's it. You're going in. There was a theory that the event horizon is actually made up of a whole bunch of rings of light, and they just didn't have enough resolution in their radio telescopes to be able to see that, so they kind of have blurred into one big glowy ring. But they think that they've theorized that within each of the rings of the black hole, I don't know how it works because the science really hurts my brain, but they think that we'd be able to, if we had the right sort of powerful telescope, because all of light is bleeding into the black hole. Like, you know how when they figured out a way to look deeper into space by using the curvature of other stars and stuff to reflect light better, or sort of as lenses? No?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You know how that's a thing?
Yeah.
We're very familiar with all of the sciences.
Yeah, so there's a thing, I read about it ages ago, where they like use the curvature of and gravity of other bodies in space as a lens for satellites to be able to see further. And I think the theory is that because there's this immense amount of gravity around black holes, if they had enough resolution in the telescopes, each of those rings they would be able to see infinitely into other galaxies.
Right.
Because all that light's being sucked in. If they could see the rings better, they would basically be able to look infinitely to other places in space.
And other universes.
Well, they didn't say that. They just said, other universes or other places in our universe.
Oh.
It was interesting, but I couldn't. I read it and I got to a point where I was like, I can't read this anymore because it literally hurts.
Yeah, there needed to be more aliens involved in this one.
Yeah.
I did find one guy who says that black holes don't even exist.
Is this Steve Carruthers?
Yeah, Stephen Carruthers. And bonus, he's an Australian.
Well,
it's truth.
Aussie.
So he came up with his own theory with a guy called Myron Evans, who's like a free energy guy. Maybe we'll have to talk about free energy one day. But they said Einstein was wrong, general relativity is wrong, and they came up with the Einstein-Carter-Evans theory, which I think the idea was that Einstein hadn't taken torsion into account, something to do with how things twist. But he got like booted from the University of New South Wales, and he has like a whole thing on his website about it. I saw someone describe him as like the Miles Mathis of astrophysics. Remember that guy that he was the guy that would always write about how spies were behind everything, and the spies were of a certain religion. And he was the guy that said, I have book-length PDFs on my website. So I've essentially, if this was a book, this would be like a huge book. Remember that guy?
No. But okay. Oh, yeah, no, I remember that guy. Yeah.
PDF guy.
Sorry, the PDF guy, yeah.
The PDF guy.
Nothing rang a bell until it was the PDF guy. This guy, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Miles Mathis is also like a huge fan of this guy. But yeah, he got booted from the University of New South Wales, and he has like an explanation on his website how he was expelled from the University of New South Wales, an example of the suppression of science by Stephen J. Carruthers. And then for some reason, just before he gets into the story, I didn't notice this yesterday, but it must have been there. He links to his independent report as a private investigator into the death of Miss Do in police custody, the woman who died in WA, because she was like in a jail over like a speeding fine or something and ended up dying. But it's like, why are you getting involved in that? But his explanation of why he was expelled from the University of New South Wales then follows. And basically, I think he came up with his own weird theory. And like at first they were like, oh yeah, that's good. We encourage people to come up with their own weird theories. It would certainly be something if you could replace the theory of general relativity. And then as he developed it, they're like, this doesn't really work, bro. And he's like, no, I think it does. And just kept on with it until eventually they're like, we can't do I can't do your PhD on this. So could you change it? He's like, I'm not going to change it. They're like, well, I'm not going to supervise you. And then because he wasn't being supervised in his PhD, he stopped paying his fees. And they're like, well, this is sort of a condition of being at the uni is you have to pay the fees. And that's how he was expelled in a suppression of science, because he just didn't pay his fees anymore.
Right.
So yeah, pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's less in this one than there was Nasara.
Yeah. Interesting that.
Yeah. Oh well.
I'll take my apologies anytime.
I mean,
or space.
Well, I'll send it via Morse code back to 1935. I was just reading that thing about the rings of light again to see if I could somehow give it a bit more of an explanation, but fuck it.
Well, I think that's all we've got for black holes. The only other thing I have to note is I watched like a bunch of boring science videos, like panels with people talking about black holes, and they were telling some pretty lame jokes, and they were killing with those audiences. So hopefully, if
do you have an example?
Oh yeah, it's like you know how time slows down as you reach the event horizon and eventually stops.
Yeah.
It's like feels like that in traffic sometimes.
That's good.
It's funny because it's true.
You said that was a bad joke. That was a good one.
All right. Robbo, where can they find you?
Get me at hourlofatime.com. Just this week put up a story about the crossover between Vaporwave and one of the largest brewers, actually the largest brewer in Australia. Bit of a deep dive into the music known as Vaporwave, which I love and can see why people hate. So,
can we just have a small shoey before we continue?
Of
and
course.
This is a literal beer shoey. With the Vaporwave thing, you know how they have used like the little Roman statue head in their thing? Are those statues part of the general Vaporwave aesthetic? Because I see that with like the Fashwave stuff a bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first use of the statue was Macintosh Plus, which was the album, the famous album, which is like the benchmark Vaporwave album. So then that kind of look and that bust got recycled a lot.
Okay, so they haven't accidentally fash signaled with their beer.
No, they didn't actually use it on the beer. So they just kind of used a vague reference to Vaporwave. Intentionally. It's certainly drawn a lot of inspiration, but the graphic on the story is one that I did.
Oh, right. Okay, so you haven't accidentally fash signaled.
No, the super Vaporwavy graphic that's bright pink and with the bust is all me.
Right.
Good work. I did see you mention, did I design this beer?
Well, there was another brewery, Three Ravens, who Salty's actually done some design work for. I think if you pick up the Three Ravens special releases, Salty's art is on the tags, and if you buy like 10 over the years, you'll be able to make a little mural with a story attached.
Yeah. Like a little jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. But they put up a tasting event just yesterday for later this month, and it's the same kind of aesthetic as what I'm talking about in the story. And so people started sending me that, and they're like, "Did you design that?" I'm like, "No, I don't.
Yeah.
Other people can do bad design."
I would say to that, like, did I design this? They've got Salty to do design. Why would they massively step down to me?
Have you tried the Vaporwave Lager?
No, I haven't. I don't I don't know if it's like, it must just only be in big chain shops. I have been told, I'm not sure if anyone that gives a shit listens to this, so I'll probably just say it. I have been told it's just rebranded Carlton Draft.
Maybe just put a bit of bubblegum flavouring in it.
Hang on, let me just read. Yeah, it's similar to Carlton Draft. It's not that much different. One person said it's just rebranded, and another has said it's slightly different. Both that would know for sure.
Right.
Who is that for? Anyway, we can't get into that. That is too much of a shooey.
So, who's what for?
Who is that beer for? Who is Vaporwave Carlton Draft for? But maybe that's a question for Ale of a time.
No, I can quickly answer it because it's in collaboration with Vice Media, who do a lot of their branding there, and they found the younger age bracket is more alienated from drinking beer, so they decided to create younger brands that speak to people's beliefs.
Right.
But it's so bad.
Yeah, good luck.
No, like I don't know if you guys saw the other one where they're doing like woke. It's what if a beer brand but woke, and it's really quite embarrassing. Like they're doing like safe space, like politically correct safe space jokes. But they just sound like something your racist uncle would tell sarcastically.
Yeah,
like it's actually pretty offensive. If you look up Cubs Lager, I think it is on Instagram, CUBSLAGER. They're doing like a lot of positive LGBTQI plus stuff on there, which gives the name Cubs a pretty interesting take, given that term is in use in the gay community.
Perfect.
Politically correct bar jokes.
Yep.
When's the best time to catcall? When it's Whiskers dinner time.
Hey!
You gonna read the other one, Salty?
Why did the man cross the road?
Why?
To give the woman walking ahead of him the space to feel safe.
There you go. Yeah, that's weird. I feel like they have given themselves a lot of space to get in trouble with this concept.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I don't actually hate the design of this one. There's something in there, but they've just gone like I said to Emma. If you're going to do something like this, just turn up to the event as a sponsor. Don't go all in and say we're the woke brand. If you want to drink, like get woke with us. Like it's just really like you're trying too hard, dudes.
Yeah.
There might even be some sort of connection between like alcohol use and a lot of problematic things in society that they could address.
Definitely.
Anyway, Robert, did you finish saying where you could be found?
Yeah, aleofatime.com for all this kind of content.
Salty, you?
At Saltmarsh on Instagram and Twitter for various stuff, mostly artwork. Try harder on Patreon, Andrew Saltmarsh Illustration on Facebook, and twitch.tv/The Salt. I've been doing a lot of art streaming.
Any game streaming? Are you streaming Fight Crab?
No, you know what? I decided to stop streaming gaming because it was ruining my art stream viewer average.
There you go.
Because I've got like 300 followers or something on Twitch, and none of them were watching me play Sea of Thieves. So I'm assuming people were like, I don't fucking want to see this dickhead play games. I want to see him do artwork. And
I don't want to see him getting constantly owned.
Yeah, so they just stopped coming and watching stuff. So I was like, well, I better stop doing that because my viewer average dipped to like, super low. And I don't want to alienate my audience.
Yeah.
So now I just play Sea of Thieves.
By yourself?
Well, not with other people, but like I don't stream it.
Just for a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And you can find me at Sexenheimer on Twitter, where I've been posting more conspiracy cookers and have almost learnt my lesson about putting enough context with the videos to make it clear that it's not me, but not quite. And I am on Gather Around Me. It's my other podcast, and my radio show on 3CR is 4:30 p.m. Thursdays. There's also a podcast at 3cr.org.au/Passaran. We just did a good episode about male supremacism and like MRAs and incels and stuff, which sort of fits in with some of what we've talked about today.
Yeah.
And where can they find you on TikTok?
They can't. Isn't TikTok going?
Don't know.
Trump's trying to get rid of it.
I think
Microsoft's trying to buy it out in the
he
US.
put in the order banning it. I don't know. It's still there though. And people can also find us all around the web, but we are especially on Patreon.
Yes.
And thank you to our cooked $33 sponsor, Tammy.
Thanks, Tammy. We'll have a news show for you shortly.
Bye.
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 All right, let's just keep recording.
Yeah.
All right, time for the news. News. You've got a good little news thread here, Robbo.
Yeah, I just smashed some things in quickly before we started.
Do you want to start?
I mean, Cam, you've been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that, or should people just read your Twitter?
They should just read my Twitter, but I'll talk about some of it. I've found some really good ones that have been overshadowed by like one of the boring ones I found that was quite angry. I really recommend going to my Twitter and finding the thread that I made, which is I'm just going to see. It starts with they time travel horses, don't they? And it's this woman who is a real estate agent in Melbourne, and she does these really long streams where she does a lot of QAnon decoding. And she's sort of like a combination of like that upper class Brighton sort of woman, like the Brighton Karen, mixed with Chopper Read. People have made comparisons with Kath and Kim. She does have a bit of the Kath look about her.
Right.
But yeah, she does these huge things where she's explaining, there's a lot of symbology that I didn't include all of this in the clips that I put up, but like St. James comes up a lot. Victoria is copying the pandemic worse because we're named after Queen Victoria, and so the witchcraft in Victoria is a lot stronger. Stuff like that. But yeah, she put up some of the great stuff was like, she was talking about horses, and there's all of this horse symbology throughout everything. And of course, horses, there's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but also horses can mean time travel esoterically. It's like, what are you talking about? But my favorite quote of all of her quotes was actually, no, I have 2 favorite quotes. One of them was she was reading a story that someone had sent her on Twitter, which was about some children being rescued, I think, and they were on their way to Spain. And as soon as she says Spain, she just gives out this deep sigh. She's like, Spain. I don't even have time to fucking explain Spain. Let's just say they're cunts.
What? Why?
And she doesn't explain. She doesn't have time. And then the other one I really loved was she was talking about like space and how I think in the scriptures, they say look up. It's like, is that in the scriptures or is that something that some dickhead wrote on the ground in chalk? But look up at the illuminators or whatever. But she's like, the moon isn't your fucking friend. That's the tip for you. And lots of durry. And it's like, that's great. I love her.
I thought the moon was
the moon ain't your friend. The moon ain't your fucking friend. There's your tip.
Jeez.
But yeah, definitely check her out. But yeah, the sort of main one this week that I've really regret posting was a guy who just got really furious on a little Facebook Live talking about a lot of stuff, but including that Daniel Andrews was having the Chinese fly into Tullamarine Airport to take over Victoria under cover of this curfew. And he got really angry about it. And I thought when I posted it with the quote, however Victoria goes, the rest of Australia will go, and so goes the world. I thought that quote was like absurd enough that everyone would realize I'm not the guy in the video. Obviously, that's a dumb thing to say. Why would you highlight that when you're posting the video? And all of these QAnon people were like, yep, right on. And so I've got 676 replies. A good bulk of which are people saying, yeah, good point. And a lot of other people are saying, no, I don't think so. Mike Carlton, the former, I think, Sydney Morning Herald columnist, said I was a fuckwit. And then he deleted his tweet, so I never got to screenshot it. I just saw the notification come up on my phone. I was like, oh, yeah, that's nice. Thanks, Mike.
Who, sorry? Mike
Carlton.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you sure he wasn't just saying it independently?
Well, that's the question. So, yeah, I guess that leads into our first topic, which is there's a theory going around that 24 planes landed at Tullamarine Airport, and Dan Andrews met them on the tarmac, and he shook everyone's hands, and he wasn't even wearing a mask. And it's either happened at 11 p.m. or 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. or, my mate saw it, or my neighbour's mate saw it, or my cousin.
Well, one guy see it and then said something like, "Oh, what's that?" And then he got escorted off the site, right?
Yeah. And one guy said, "Yeah, my mate works at the airport, and he saw it, and he was so angry that they weren't socially distancing that he went to tell Daniel Andrews off, and he got fired."
Oh.
I think someone actually posted like the flight tracker stuff for Melbourne for that night.
Yeah.
And because they're like, look at the flight data. There's all of these planes. It's like, no, these are code share flights. There's one plane, and there are still planes are allowed to land. Planes are still, you see them in the sky. So where did you think they were going? There are significantly less of them.
So people have seen that one plane, and I imagine it's happening more now because there's so few flights, that one plane has had 24 airline code shares attached to it.
Yeah.
Emirates, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Which, I imagine is, because there's only, limited flights, everyone's got to chip in. You pull your bloody resources together and fill up a plane.
Yeah.
And people have taken that to mean 24 planes landed at once.
Yeah, which there aren't even 24 runways at Melbourne Airport.
I saw a comment that made me laugh where someone had said, like, 24 planes in 3 to 5 minutes.
So a guy I know through Trugo, who is certainly not cooked, has pointed out he's spotted a lot of unmarked planes that he can't find on the radar, and he's trying to work out what's going on with them.
When you say certainly not cooked, is that sarcasm?
No, I'm saying he's a normal guy that, and like his question is genuinely like, I've seen this happening, and I'm trying to work out what it is.
Right.
Like unmarked planes, some with no windows, no branding, and not showing up in transponders. And I went through and had a look, and I've suggested that like Qantas are ordering a whole bunch of planes at the moment. They're also rebranding their whole fleet at the moment for their 100th anniversary. So, are they doing test flights? Those kinds of things. Right now with the quiet skies is the time to do it.
Yeah.
But he said, they'd probably show up as transponders. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I also like that you heard your neighbour trying to convince someone that China wasn't taking over.
Yeah, I heard that last night as I was about to go to bed. So our bathroom is, it just funnels sound from the outside so well into our bathroom.
It's too close.
But even like in the middle of the night, I can hear the beeping of the ports, of trucks and stuff at the ports when it's quiet. From our bathroom, and you
don't live near the ports.
No, exactly. I mean, Footscray Port isn't that far, but yeah, like maybe 3 kilometres away. But so last night I heard my neighbour trying to convince someone that the media or China wasn't taking over the media, and amongst other things that I can't remember them all. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, but he was Yeah, clearly trying to talk someone out of being cooked.
Are you sure you're hearing the beeping from the ports and you're not just hearing Morse code from the future?
Whoa. Your bathroom's like a funnel. There's a black hole in there.
That's some... Has anyone done that in a movie yet? Where I'm sure they have, where one part of the world is a funnel?
Don't know. That'd be a good bit for next time we use your bathroom, though.
Yeah.
No, you're right. That is good.
Hey, Robert, I don't want to speak ill of your bathroom, but like when I'm in there doing a piss, my piss is going off into like this portal, and so is all the light in the room. No one will get that.
No, I don't think we've ever talked about the fact that every time we record at Robert's house, we make inaccurate assertions about things in his bathroom under the guise of helpful and constructive home advice. Yeah, we have a lot of fun off the podcast.
Just great chase.
Oh no, we've given Salty the giggles. So yeah, that's the planes lady. I saw someone else, this guy called Mac Linden, who I've been following a little bit. He's like a Christian filmmaker from Australia. He did a film which was based on his own story about being convicted of rape and then going to prison and then proving his innocence, which I think there's a little bit more to it than is in his story, because at the time that he was released from prison, a bunch of convictions were overturned because there was the legislation was written in a sort of confusing way. It was open to interpretation. But anyway, I'm sure it was just that he was found innocent. I've got to work out a way to frame this in a less defamatory way.
Like that religious guy.
Yeah. Let me just start again. I think there might have been a bit more to it than he puts in the movie, but since then he's become incredibly cooked. He has got a sci-fi film coming out at some point in the future, which is all about, the government putting microchips in people. So if you sort of see where that's going, it reminds me of that, was it the Grey State? Remember that doco about the guy that was making a sci-fi film about people having microchips put in them?
Yeah.
And then he murdered his family. Anyway, this guy hasn't murdered his family, so that's good. But he was doing a Facebook Live from the Gold Coast where they've got a bunch of people in hotel quarantine, and he like walks up to a cop because they've got the road blocked off, because I think they've got a bunch of buses that have arrived from the airport that have people going into hotel quarantine in them. And because they've got these like 4 buses parked in the road, they've blocked the road off. And he goes up to this cop, he's like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And the cop's like, "Oh, we've just got people in for the hotel quarantine." And he's like, "From China?" And he's like, "No, just from interstate." Interstate or China? And he almost tricked him into admitting that they were all from China. And he's like, that bus line is a Chinese-owned bus line. It's not. It's like Australian family-owned since 1978. And he's like, the plane, they're flying them into Melbourne overnight. It happened last night. And the cop's like, "Okay, if you got any questions, take it up with Queensland Health. I'm just sort of blocking this road." He's like, "Yeah, I can't go through." He's like, "Yeah, because there's the buses in the road, so we have to block the road." And he's like, "All right." And then he walks off. He's like, "Oh, so, yeah, could be the Chinese or could be US Marines. So could be some good news."
The Marines are good.
Yeah, the US Marines are here to, QAnon it up. So pull the children out of the tunnels of the Gold Coast. But, of course, they have to go through their 2-week quarantine before they can do so.
Can we jump ahead to PK if we're talking about people confronting people on the street?
Yeah. Yep. I don't like what you've put here about PK. Is this true?
Which part?
PK going to nursing homes now.
Yeah, so he stood outside a nursing home and bailed up a guy that was... first up, he's on his bike, on like a push bike. He's very puffed, and it's like, man, don't be just puffing around a fucking nursing home with your with your PK breath
Yeah.
right now. But he bails up one guy and just does the whole, like there's only 40 people in this nursing home and they've had 90 cases. How would they have that many cases and like they don't even have that many staff, which is weird because I don't think he understands that nursing homes need to be staffed all around.
Yeah.
Like, there's 8-hour shifts 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Of 10 people is a lot of people quite quickly. But yeah, he gets on the plane theory. He says, Dan Andrews is going down to meet the planes. And he's just talking to this guy standing on the corner. I'm not even sure why this guy's standing there, but the guy's just facing like the other way.
Yeah.
He's just ranting at him. And the guy's giving him a cursory, oh, yeah, right, mate. Yeah, no, that's, yeah. Why would they do that?
Don't push me into the traffic.
And then he claims that people are dying of stress because of all this, rather than the coronavirus. Right. And first he's like, they're all these in their 90s and their 80s, like, what, they're going to die anyway, who cares? And then he's like, and they're all dying of stress in there and it's awful. It's like, well, you either care about them or you don't, PK. Make up your mind. But then he bails up one of the workers who's like pulling up on her scooter.
Yeah.
Because she's Asian, she's like,
oh.
He's like, do you speak English?
Oh,
like,
Peter.
And he's going on his rant, how many people work there? And she's like, oh, like 50? And he's like, oh, really? In that small place? And
shifts, you dickhead.
Your mic's just come out, Robert.
Oh.
Sorry. So he bails her up, asking how many people work there. But then he starts asking her about his scooter. She's got a scooter. He's like, oh, how much that cost you? Was that new, is it? Well, that cost you like 20 grand. 20, 30 grand for one of those. And she's like, $2,000?
Yeah.
He's like, for that? Oh. And I don't know why he's going. He goes for about 2 minutes asking about the scooter.
Right.
And I don't know if it's like you're being paid off or if he genuinely is interested in
scooter technology.
Yeah, it was weird.
To be too callous, but wasn't he supposed to be dying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
Never really panned out, I don't think.
Anyway.
I think he just got better because modern medicine's actually pretty good.
Yeah, wasn't he saying, I'm not going to take any modern medicine?
Yeah, I thought that was his whole thing.
Yeah, but then he was talking about going to the doctors.
Right.
Anyway, not to be too callous, though.
He was calling people as well, calling the nursing home and asking them about their... Like,
stop bothering people.
Yeah, it's so weird. And he's just doing a lot of these on the street with PK stuff. It's old PK.
That's not a valid reason to be out.
No, it is not. I mean, we could probably quite easily report it to the cops because they'd know him quite well around that neighbourhood.
Yeah, but we're not fucking narcs.
Yeah, I'm not going to narc on... Well, maybe I would narc.
Certainly not going to admit to narking on the mic.
Yeah, I'm not a narc.
There was also the ABC Four Corners did their big 5G piece. Did you watch that, Robbo?
I sure did. Has anyone else watched it?
No.
It was all right. They did. I think I said this in the chat. They didn't do enough to counter the claims that these cooked people were making, because I think they just assumed that everyone would look at it and go, "Oh yeah, these people are cooked." So like they had a guy, it's a YouTube vid of a guy saying, the first, it's all 5G's caused coronavirus, and the first city to be blanketed by 5G was Wuhan, and that's kind of evidence. But they didn't counter that. They didn't say, here's the actual, it's not. That's not true. I think they just assumed everyone would go, oh, that's cooked.
Yeah.
But as we know, people are just believing that shit all over the place these days.
Yeah. There's a reason that it's a massively popular, well, it's not hugely mainstream popular, but it's an increasingly popular conspiracy theory because people hear about it and believe it. So
yeah. So
that could have been really factored in, perhaps.
They really needed to say explicitly, here is the real stuff, because the counter arguments were all like hardcore sciencey stuff, and it was quite complicated. Whereas the conspiracy theory messaging, as we know, like it's really direct and simple. This is radiation getting into our lives, and it's causing all these health problems, and we need to stop it. And like the explanation was, look, there's multiple types of radiation. This is X radiation that causes X, and look, here are some tests we do. And it was like, oh man, I'm bored.
Yeah.
take me back to the lady that's yelling something.
So I did see some of the reaction from the 5G people. Some of them are like, oh, here we go, another frame job from the ABC, making us look bad. But then some of them are like, yeah, this is great. This is a great recruiting tool for us. This makes us look, this makes us look fine. They didn't have anything to say about our arguments. So pretty much what you thought was going to happen. But so they weren't all on script though. Some of them were like, oh no, they got us. They made us look dumb. It's like, no, they just showed you. So if you think you look dumb, maybe think about that.
Yeah. But it named the 5G Facebook group and gave an interview with the head of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good thing.
Here's where to go for more information.
Yeah, you need to cook your brain hard.
And here's nowhere to go for more information about what is actually going on.
Yeah. What they needed to do was get bloody Dr. Carl on there.
Yeah, definitely.
To just give a quick, succinct little bloody blast of truth.
I saw, did you see Telstra are doing a 5G conspiracy video series with Mark Humphreys?
I've seen it, but I haven't watched it yet.
I think they've sort of admitted in their, the PR that's come out with it, this isn't designed for everyone. This isn't going to, anyone who's fully down the rabbit hole, this is not going to get through to. The idea is just to sort of get to people on the edge who are starting to become interested in it. But I watched a bit of the first one because it's done in this is the stuff your crazy uncle's talking about sort of shtick.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I watched a bit of the first one and they're talking about, a virus can't travel on the radio waves. And it's like, I've said it a few times. That's not what anyone is really saying. They're saying that the symptoms of the virus are caused by the radiation from the 5G.
Yeah.
So
not that the virus is being beamed out.
Yeah. There might have been some people saying, the virus is being beamed out, but the majority of them sort of landed on this thing where it's like radiation poisoning has the same symptoms as coronavirus, which is not true, but that's what they are saying. So it doesn't really help to fight back against something that no one's actually believing in.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, do you guys want some breaking conspiracy news?
Yeah. I love it.
Wu-Tang member The Jizza, aka The Genius, posted this morning a video of the horizon. He's in some sort of top of a building, scanning around the horizon on a beach top. Round or flat? Thinking face.
Come on, Jizza.
Which is interesting because Jizza's put out an album on the cover is like the Earth from space.
Yeah,
right.
Called Beneath the Surface. So yeah, there you go. That's what Jizza's up to.
When the Shaolins went from Japan to New York, how did he think that flight went?
Straight across.
Anyway, Hasbro got involved in a Pizzagate QAnon conspiracy, and they actually got a troll doll pulled from stores.
See, I saw this story, but I didn't realize the people who were complaining about it were Pizzagate people. I thought it was just over enthusiastic mums.
I think it started with a mum going, "This is a bit weird, a bit creepy," and then it just took off from there.
Right.
Have you seen the video that they
of the doll?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's designed so when the doll sits down,
it gives a giggle. It's like, isn't it fun to
it's
sit
a little
down?
button.
And it's like, if you push that, it does the same thing, which is weird.
Yeah, if you turn the doll over and then jam your finger.
Yeah.
You don't need to jam, you just need to lightly touch. But
no, you don't even lightly touch there, mate. It's not on.
So yeah, that's been pulled and it's just taken off. Yep. Anyway.
Next,
I do agree that the toy makers and designers probably could have found a better solution to that toy function.
Maybe. I mean, I guess you just don't assume that people are going to look at a troll doll and go, "Oh, that's a pedophile thing."
Yeah, except for when you can turn it upside down, lift its dress, and diddle its bits, and make sex noises.
You don't need to diddle its bits.
You don't need to, but You can. And if you can, people are going to do it.
There's no bits to diddle.
Yeah, there's no bits to diddle. It's just a button. What are your bits like? What are your bits like?
Well,
yeah. Well.
Anyway, Beirut.
Moving. Yeah.
Hillary covering her tracks.
Yeah. So there's some, and I don't know what this is, but there's some shipping container company that I think people claim is Hillary Clinton's.
Right.
And that's how she ships around whatever she's up to at the time.
Right.
Used to be dead bodies. Now I think it's children. Maybe both. Shipping containers. You can fit a lot in a shipping container, so she could do both.
That's where she sends her boatloads of fertilizer.
Yeah. So this was, Beirut was to cover her tracks after some of it got busted. Which is a really ham-fisted way of doing it if you were that powerful.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to... I read a book recently all about, and I think I've talked about it here, about the shipping industry and how that comes about. Because what happens is these ships get confiscated and they've got, for having this dangerous stuff on them, get taken into port, but no one wants to claim it because it's so much work to, sink it or dispose of it or anything.
Right.
The country that the flag, the ship is flying under doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
They should probably take it, but they're like, we don't care. And the country that has it's like, well, we're not going to do anything with it. It's going to cost us a lot of money.
Just stick it in a warehouse.
And so they just then there's sort of boats everywhere that are just kind of stuck in this limbo.
Right.
And no one's really sure what to do with them. And there's this, so it's a massive problem.
I feel like some people knew what to do with this stuff because there were all of these reports that they had saying this is, firstly, when it was on the boat, they're like, this is a floating bomb. Yeah. And then when it was in the port, there were all these reports saying, you've got a big bomb in your port, get rid of this bomb.
So people know what to do with it. No one wants to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And take the responsibility for it.
I saw there was some really low effort, missile stuff. I think it was Nathan Russo posted a good comeback, which was, if it flaps, it's not a missile. There was video where they're like, look, you can see something for one frame before. It's like, yeah, it's a bird.
It's a bird.
And it's also, why did they set it on fire before they threw a missile at it?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking insane though, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty nuts.
Not good.
Pretty nuts.
Just the footage is mind-blowingly fucking mental. I saw one bit of footage of it, I think not long after it happened, and I was like, holy shit. But then when all the other footage come out, it's like, wow, it's fucking crazy.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, just one other dumb thing I saw was like, why is there so much footage of this? Why were people filming it? It's like, because there was a huge fire.
Yeah.
There's a huge fire and there was a lot of tall buildings around and everyone has phones these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, give it a rest. Last item on the docket.
But not least.
Freedom to Breathe Agency, the FBA. What's this?
Yeah. People in America are going around pretending to be from the Freedom to Breathe Agency.
Just fucking lock them up.
And I haven't actually fully read it. I just kind of I saw some videos and stuff of it.
This is what the FEMA camps are for, right?
Yes.
It absolutely should be.
To round these fucking idiots up.
So they've got fake credentials that they're printing off the internet and going, hey, we're doing it. We're from the FBA and we're whatever. I don't actually know what they're trying to do. They're anti-maskers.
Are they going up to people with masks on saying we're from the Freedom to Breathe Agency, get that mask off?
I don't know. I really don't think I think I looked at it when I think we need to mention it, but God.
Oh, they're handing out... Oh, no, they're not handing out. They're selling cards online, which are from the Freedom to Breathe Agency. It's a scam.
Yeah. We need to get in on a grift.
We do.
Yeah.
But I want to be in a grift that isn't making the pandemic worse.
Yeah, actively harming people.
Oh, some dumb pandemic gear. I posted a little clip of a guy one of these 99% guys, he was at the park and they would taped off the pull-up bars.
Mm.
And he's like, what, is the virus supposed to be just sitting on this piece of metal? It's like, yeah, that's why they've taped them off, dickhead. Surface transmission. We've known about this for months. Like, this is basic virus knowledge. You're out here saying you're some sort of virus genius. You're smarter than everyone else. And you don't know, like, even the basics about it. Like, he's not even saying, I don't believe in surface transmission. He's like, just hasn't heard of it. And you're supposed to be some sort of fucking expert. Anyway.
But he steamed, Cam. He steamed you.
All of these people have been like, oh, Cam, how are you going? Are you okay? Like, you're looking at all of this cooked stuff. And I'm like, yeah, no, I just get angry at how stupid they are. All of the bad stuff they're saying, I desensitized myself to a long time ago. It's just how dumb they are that steams my greens. Anyway.
You don't want your greens steamed.
No. Saute those mother butters.
I actually quite like a steamed green.
There's nothing wrong with a steamed green. What are you talking about? This is the kind of stupidity I'm talking about, Robert. No, you're all right, mate. You're a good kid.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so is that the news?
That's all the news.
That's Fit to Podcast. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Don't worry about a thing, except if all our world leaders are alien reptilians. I said don't worry about a thing, except maybe the fluoride in our water supply contains mind-altering drugs. Don't worry about a thing, except whether or not Port Arthur was a false flag operation in which to disarm Australia. I said don't worry about a thing. I accept you can definitely hear John Lennon say I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields forever. Ooh, don't worry about a thing, except not only did Bush do 9/11, but he also keeps the planes out in Area 51, which, let's not forget where all of the aliens are. Don't worry about a thing, except Donald Trump is clearly a woman